Good morning. 95 Aprils ago, a society lady in Southampton, England, boarded a luxury liner. She asked a crew member, "Sir, is this ship safe?" He responded, "Madam, God himself could not sink this ship." And 95 years ago today, an iceberg ripped a gash in the hull of that luxury liner and sent 1,500 people to a watery grave. The British Commission of Inquiry investigating the sinking of the Titanic concluded that excessive speed was the primary cause. Excessive speed in an area of the ocean known to pose a serious risk of a disastrous collision with nature. Here we are again, cruising through troubled waters. Only this time, all waters are troubled. Those at the helm are saying, "Full speed ahead." And most of us are hanging out on the A deck, sampling the champagne and caviar, and telling each other there's nothing to worry about. But you're not. You're here, standing in the rain, and you're worried, and you should be. Among the diverse causes that brought you here today is the personal commitment of a man named Bill McKibben, a Methodist Sunday school superintendent. 10 years ago, Bill wrote a book about global warming called The End of Nature. In an article he later wrote for Christian Century magazine, he talked about the kinds of laws needed to alter our course on climate change policy. And then he said something very striking, that the leadership of churches in the climate change movement was absolutely mandatory. Absolutely mandatory. What could churches possibly have that's so essential to this movement? Is it our deft strategic feel for the political landscape? Or maybe it's our cadres of highly disciplined shock troops who can ring doorbells and man phone banks tirelessly? Or maybe somebody thinks we're going to do the fish and loaves trick with the weather. I don't know. Bill McKibben saw churches as having a unique capacity to declare that some things are more important than endless economic growth, that some goals are more important than endless accumulation. What might those goals be? The most important one, I believe, is the one after which every church worthy of the name strives and struggles: to engender an experience of wholeness in the lives of everyone it touches. To be whole is to have a sense of unity with all that we're a part of. We lack this sense of unity because we suffer spiritual wounds. These wounds engender an experience of being apart from, rather than a part of, the larger whole. When ministers talk about what is holy, they are talking about wholeness and about the mission of religion, which is to move people toward wholeness through the healing of spiritual wounds. What is it that we need to be reunited with? Churches usually have answered these questions by focusing on three aspects of spiritual wholeness. The first is wholeness with our own deep selves, which I hear in these words from the poet Mary Oliver. She writes, "Even if your spirit carries with it the thorn that is heavier than lead, if it's all you can do to keep on trudging, there is somewhere deep within you a beast shouting that the earth is exactly what it wanted. Each pond with its blazing lilies is a prayer heard and answered lavishly every morning, whether or not you have ever dared to be happy, whether or not you have ever dared to pray. We cannot be united with that sensual animal part of ourselves if the earth it longs for is wounded, toxic, uninhabitable, desecrated. The second aspect of spiritual wholeness is with other people, which I hear in the words of the poet E.E. Cummings when he writes, "How fortunate are you and I, we who have wandered down from fragrant mountains of eternal now to frolic in such mysteries as birth and death a day, or maybe even less." If we continue on our life-altering, world-altering collision course with global warming, will there be any places for frolicking with each other in life's mysteries, in its relational joys, in its revelations of our deep connections with each other? Revelations profoundly inflected by the medium of nature, through which all that passes between us must traverse.